Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of the Decentering Men series. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about how most men want to take from you. So, we all know that in the dating market, everybody has some sort of leverage, right? Obviously, women have a lot more leverage than men because men want women way more than women want men. Men need women way more than women need men. And this is because women often have much more diverse skills than men do. As women, we have very diverse skill sets. We have emotional skills a lot of the time, nurturing skills, caregiving skills, because a lot of women, we've been socialized to take care of mom and dad, or maybe you're at that age right now where you're taking care of elderly parents, or you grew up babysitting your nieces and nephews. So you have developed caretaking skill sets, you've developed like cooking skills, you know how to take care of children, you know how to cook for yourself, how to meal prep. And a lot of women are developing other skills as well, like becoming handy around the house. I see a lot of TikTok videos of women who are building their own furniture. I actually used to build my own furniture in my other apartment. So a lot of women have such a wide variety of skills to the point that having a woman in your life is really invaluable. And I think that men see this. It's very valuable to have a woman in your life. It's really important to a lot of these guys because let's think about it. Most guys don't even know how to eat 3 servings of vegetables per day. So if they don't even know how to eat 3 servings of vegetables, how are they going to know how to organize their closet, how to make sure that they pay all of their bills on time, make sure that they're going to all of their apartments? Don't even get me started on the health statistics of men. First of all, if you're dealing with a black guy, the average black man only lives until about 70 years old. So if you are somewhere around my age, if you're in your 30s, let's say you're 35 years old or you date a guy who is 35 years old, he's already lived half of his life. He's in midlife by 35 years old. And a lot of times guys will be running through women, they will be, tormenting women for half of their life. And then once they're done doing that, then they want to try to attach themselves to you so that you can be their future caretaker. Not to mention the fact that a lot of times when men reach midlife and they realize that like, hey, I'm not getting paid as much as I want to get paid, the average man makes only about up to 50K. Over 90% of men make less than 100K. So for the most part, whatever guy you're meeting on a dating app or whatever, no matter what kind of car he drives, 90% of the time he's going to make less than 100K. First of all, $100,000, that's a good salary, but that's not rich in my opinion. $100,000 a year is definitely not rich depending on what city you live in. I consider that to just be middle class. I think 100K is probably good for one person, but as far as 2 people living off that at 50K each, or once you take out the taxes, it's really about 65K. So 2 people living off of that income, that's only going to be around $30,000 a year for each person. So if you're going to be a stay-at-home wife of a guy who makes around 100K on paper, just expect that your lifestyle, provided that he is generous, what you'll get every year is going to be a maximum of around only $30,000. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of guys realize this. And so because they realize this, they know that they need help. Most men really just need help, and that's really why they're looking for a woman. This is why a lot of guys, they want to be quick to move in with you, especially if you are kind of a more successful woman. Let's say you have your own business or you are working multiple jobs. He sees your work ethic. He sees how hardworking you are and how productive you are. He sees you going to your day job and then going to your night job or like selling stuff on the weekends. He sees that you have that hustle. A lot of men, in my opinion, do not have the same level of hustle as women. I have met so many women who have multiple jobs. I've met single women with 2 and 3 jobs, and I've met like the average single guy that I meet only just has one job. And then he just comes home, plays video games, looks at porn, and goes to bed. So the average woman is more ambitious than a man from what I have noticed. But men will see these qualities in a woman and he will say, oh, wow, she's really good at meal prepping. She's got this business on the side. She's selling her hats that she's knitting and stuff. And she's got this local business going for herself. She's good at doing all of these things, cooking and cleaning, caretaking, nurturing. She's very sweet and kind. She's got all of these social skills. So most men will see that and they want to latch onto that as soon as possible because they want to take advantage of those resources. A man is usually looking at a woman, especially when he says, "What do you bring to the table?" What he's really asking you is, "What do you bring financially? How can you financially benefit my life?" So this is why I say that a lot of men who are looking for girlfriends and wives, they're not looking for a woman to spoil and cherish and, to just treat her like she's a princess, to give her the princess treatment for the next 80 years. No, let's be realistic. Let's look at statistics here. 70% of divorces are filed by women, and about 50% of marriages will end in divorce. There are plenty of articles that talk about how the average couple that is considered healthy argues 2 times a week. So no matter how healthy your relationship is, statistically speaking, you're most likely going to be going through 2 arguments per week. So for the average woman, you will be getting into a situation where not only do you have to blend your life with another person, but you have a new person to care for, because again, if you are 35, if the guy's 35, he's already reached midlife. Also, let's look at some of the statistics of men who are ages 35 and above. The average 35-year-old black man, 80%, 81% of black men have no bachelor's degree. So that means if you date black men / even MLS men, if you want to couple them in, because a lot of these statistics, they do not separate mixed race men from black men. So the average black man around 35 years old does not have a college degree. By age 35, 66% of men, regardless of race, will have experienced some degree of hair loss. So all of those fantasies you may have in your mind about getting some hot guy with a full head of hair that you can run your fingers through, or that you can braid. I've seen girls wanting to braid certain guys' hair, or a guy having a full head of locks or something. 66% of men have already started having noticeable balding. So he might have the locks, but there may be a patch or two where it's bald and kind of broken off on the side. A lot of men like to talk about women with no edges. Well, if you're dating a guy who is 35 and above, he most likely has no edges. So not only are you caring for this guy, you're cooking and cleaning for him. In most marriages, they are going 50-50, but you're telling me I'm going 50-50 and the guy doesn't even have any edges? Think about this, ladies. If a man can't even afford to buy a bottle of Rogaine or to get something that will help his hair to grow back, if he can't even afford a hair transplant, what makes you think that he's going to be able to afford giving you the soft life? And this is not to discourage you guys. This is actually to help women to be set free from pressuring themselves so much to find a guy who wants to marry them, or find a guy who, try to snag some high value guy, whatever that means. Have you ever noticed how when people talk about a high value man, they never point fingers and name names. They never name an actual example like, hey, this is John Smith. He is an example of a high value man. They never give you actual examples. I've seen some of these YouTubers give examples of high value women who supposedly are good at dating, and they'll try to use examples like Lori Harvey and Marjorie Harvey, and no shade against them, but Lori Harvey's dating history, she has dated Future. I don't consider him high value. She has been with Diddy. I certainly don't consider him high value. And then Marjorie Harvey, she's with Steve Harvey, who left his first wife when she was pregnant and cheated on her and got a new woman. I don't consider that high value. So have you ever noticed how a lot of hypergamy and femininity content creators, they will talk so much about the ethereal high value man, but then when it comes time to actually give the ladies what we want, which is an actual example of this supposed high value man, like who should we be looking for? Who should we be aspiring to want to date and marry? Nobody can name any names. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody ever shows you this high value man. They just talk about it as if he's some mythological demigod. And have you ever stopped to think that maybe he does not exist? And this doesn't have to be a bad thing. All I'm saying is that if this mythological guy does exist, he would obviously be a huge unicorn and a huge needle in a haystack. So all of these women who are subscribing to these channels, or, kind of wishing and hoping and holding out for some high value man, if you guys want to all fight over your needle in a haystack and kind of create this harem for these high value men, or these men that you consider to be high value, that's fine. If you want to be that guy's, jump off or whatever, I'm not judging anybody. If you want to be his concubine, fine. But I just feel like a lot of the women who are holding out for this romantic marriage and stuff, I just feel like for most of these women, it's not going to happen because that is statistically not possible. But this information is actually very freeing because now you can take all of the pressure off yourself. You can take all of that mental weight off of yourself. You could stop stressing out about, oh, are my edges blending in perfectly? Do I look good enough for him? Is he attracted to me? Am I his type? Oh crap, I feel rejected by that guy at the bar. Sweetheart, that guy at the bar probably has a receding hairline. He probably doesn't even have his bachelor's degree. He most likely is driving to that bar in a leased car that is on the verge of being repossessed. So once you start to understand these statistics, you begin to take men off the pedestal. So that's really the whole point of this series. It's to help women take men off of this pedestal, take marriage and relationships and romance, take it off the pedestal so that your self-esteem is not harmed by it. And then that way, a man won't be able to dangle in front of your face like, oh, I would never want to date you. Oh, well, nobody picked you. Nobody wants you. A guy won't be able to hurt you with those types of comments anymore because you understand the true nature of most men, and you are armed with statistics, you are armed with facts. I like to use screenshots of plenty of different articles in this YouTube series so that you know that a lot of times the guys you're dealing with are not even your dream guy anyway. So there's no need to be crying over a breakup. There's no need to feel sad because your friend got with XYZ guy and maybe you didn't get with him, or maybe a guy picked her over you. Guess what? That girl is going through 2 arguments per week, and that's if the relationship is healthy. If it's unhealthy, she's going through more arguments than that. So 2 arguments per week. There are 52 weeks in a year, which would mean 104 arguments per year. So she's going through 104 arguments with that guy. If the guy is 35 and above, he is most likely has a receding hairline, and he more than likely does not have a college degree, especially if he is of African American descent. So I'm trying to help women to not feel that sense of FOMO because trust me, a lot of times you're not actually missing out on anything. If you want to just experience the fun and the company of being around a man, all you have to do is go on a dating app and a guy will ask you out on a date and he can take you out on the date and pay. I mean, some guys, they won't even pay, so you'll even have to deal with dust even in that area. It's like, wow, this guy, he can't even pay $25 to take a girl on a date, but he can pay $25 a month to subscribe to someone on OnlyFans. He can pay $25 a month to the sex workers, but then that same type of guy will shame women who have a sexual past. He will shame them in real life. So no matter what, you're going to have to deal with dust if you're dealing with men. That's just the bottom line. But back to what I was talking about, which is how most men who are looking for a woman, they're looking for help with something. They want a woman to do certain duties, such as raising his children. This is a big one that a lot of women don't talk about, especially if you're going after these guys who have quote unquote money. Let's say you're after a guy who is 45 years old and let's say he makes $250K. So you found a needle in the haystack and he defies a couple of statistics right off the bat. You think that man has never been married and never had kids? No. The older a man gets, the higher the chances are of him having had kids or him having been previously married. Maybe he lost a lot of his assets in a divorce, or maybe he is currently paying alimony payments to an ex. And so in a lot of cases, even if you are dealing with a man who maybe he has a little bit of money, no man that you meet is going to be perfect. So a lot of women actually end up playing stepmommy and raising another woman's children. So while that woman gets to, for lack of better words, kind of live her best life, you know, she's getting the payout, she's getting the child support payments and stuff. That new stepmommy, she's not getting child support payments. That new stepmom, she's coming in and she is acting as the maid and the servant oftentimes for her husband and his children. And a lot of you guys will say, oh, well, that's easy. You just marry a guy who can afford a maid. Even maids have breaks. They have vacations. They can call out sick. A maid is not going to come in 24/7 and be cleaning up all the time. So there's still going to be a gap between when the maid comes for her next shift. So guess what? The maid may be coming and working an 8-hour shift during the day, but who's working the night shift? Probably you, probably stepmommy. And I'm not making this to be disrespectful. Like if you want to be with a guy and you have no problem raising another woman's kids or raising his kids, then that's totally fine. That's your business. But this is really just to paint a picture of what the reality is going to look like for a lot of these women who are sitting and waiting for this guy to come sweep them off their feet. Oftentimes, he's sweeping you off your feet so that you can then help him to build up his wealth. A lot of guys also, we're talking about the average guy here too. So let's say you come into contact with the average guy. So he is making around $50,000. If you're lucky, he will make more than that, but still there's a 90% chance that he will make less than $100,000. And we all know that depending on what city you live in the United States, that's not quite enough for you to like raise a whole family on, buy a big, beautiful house, live in whatever city you want. So for us here in the Pretty Girl Club, we have dreams, we have goals. So maybe your goal is you've always wanted to live in New York City or in Hawaii somewhere, or, maybe you've always wanted to live in a particular place, but that place is not cheap to live. Well, now you're going to have to sacrifice that dream. You have to sacrifice a part of your dreams just so you can maintain a relationship with this guy, because all he can afford is to live in Fargo, North Dakota. And, you committed to him, so now you have to spend your life in Fargo, North Dakota. I've noticed that a man's quality of life, men seem to have a very high tolerance for like low quality lifestyles. Have you ever noticed that? The term bachelor pad, there's a reason that term exists. It's because men don't mind tolerating horrible qualities of life. These guys will sleep on mattresses on the floor. I mean, these will be guys that have money. They have a nice job, making $50,000 at least, or $75,000, $80K, and he has no paintings on the wall. There's dust on the ceilings, dust on the windowsills, mold growing below their sink. They don't even have a freaking shower curtain. They have like one of the clear plastic shower curtains, but then they don't have like a decorative one. So their bathroom looks like a jail bathroom. Literally their entire living space looks like a jail cell. And then you'll open his refrigerator. He'll have no groceries or like expired fruits and vegetables. Because remember, the average guy doesn't even eat 3 servings of vegetables per day. So you'll be like, hey, why don't you have any groceries? He'll be like, oh yeah, I'm about to go to Walmart next weekend. I'm about to go to the grocery store next weekend. Meanwhile, this guy is spending his money getting groceries from these horrible, low-quality grocery stores where literally the produce goes bad within 24 hours. And then us girls over here, maybe we're used to shopping at Whole Foods. Like for me, I love to shop at Whole Foods. I like going to Trader Joe's. I like going to high-end meat markets and buying the pre-marinated meats. So yes, they are more expensive, but that is the lifestyle that I give myself. But a lot of men, they can tolerate a very low-quality lifestyle. So they can tolerate never eating marinated meats. Doesn't matter. 24/7, 365. It's Christmas. It's Thanksgiving. He's still eating beans out of the can. He's walking around eating Cheetos for lunch, walking around with orange crust all over his fingers. A lot of men are able to tolerate this horrible, low quality of life. And so this is why a lot of men, they will still chase after women, because they know that no matter what woman he gets, she can be ugly, she could be fat, she could be a baby mama, have 5 kids, 10 kids, whatever, a body count of 10,000. A lot of guys, they don't actually care. They will try to gaslight and pretend like, oh, you're just a thought or you're ugly or whatever. But no, a lot of guys, they don't even mind having a quote unquote ugly woman in their life, because guess what? It's better than having no woman in his life, according to him. And that's because the presence of a woman still will elevate your quality of life. A lot of women, let's say she is a baby mama or single mom, a lot of women will still go out of their way to at least try to give their kids a good Christmas. They will try to at least cook for their kids. They'll try to at least go to the Dollar Tree or whatever and get different toys. And a lot of women know how to use creativity in order to elevate their lifestyles and elevate the lifestyles of those around them. And men see this. A lot of men do not have that skill. They don't know how to elevate their own lifestyle. They don't know how to elevate the lifestyle of a person who is in their vicinity. They definitely don't know how to do that. The average guy is actually coming into a woman's life, kind of sucking her energy away, kind of taking away from her. And this is why a lot of times when you ask a man what he wants in a woman, he will begin describing the different ways that a woman can elevate his lifestyle. And this is why I have no problem with women keeping that same energy and saying, okay, well, since you want a woman to elevate your lifestyle, I want you to elevate my lifestyle as well, financially, because oftentimes that's the only thing a guy knows how to do. Have you ever noticed how a lot of guys, they don't actually solve problems on their own. They just tend to throw money at the problem. So for example, instead of him cooking a homemade meal or kind of seeing what he has in his cabinet and cooking something from scratch, oftentimes he's just going to order out. He's just going to eat some McDonald's. He's going to eat Chick-fil-A. He's going to eat Whataburger. He's going to eat Jersey Mike's because he's just trying to use his money to solve problems. And that's not always a bad thing. But this is why a lot of women, we are like, hey, well then, yeah, we want to have some financial stability as well. But a lot of times, even the financial contribution that man may be bringing into your life is not substantial enough to really elevate your lifestyle. So let me go back to the example of, let's say you really wanted to live in Hawaii. Hawaii is quite expensive. If you want to live there and you want to live on a beach house or something, let's say you really wanted to live there. Even if the guy is contributing an additional $1,000 a month to the household income, that's still not enough for you to go and live your dreams in Hawaii. So a lot of times women are the ones who often end up sacrificing our dreams, sacrificing our soft life goals, and, kind of like foregoing all of these things that we wanted when we were younger because, oh, well, we made a commitment now. We have to make a sacrifice now. We have to do our duty, do our wifely duties. And so all I'm saying is, hey, which one would you rather do? Would you rather pay all of your own bills, but then you're the boss and you're in charge of your own life? You get to live in whatever city you want to live in. You get to take that bag that you just made from your job or from your business. You get to take those bags and do what you want with them. You don't have to worry about raising another man's kids or, now you have to pick up your stepkids from soccer practice. You have to go to all of their school plays and stuff because daddy can't show up. Daddy is at work doing overtime trying to come up with enough money to make sure that you guys even have a retirement. So now, even as the stepmother, you become the new default parent. Actually, I think I should call this episode, Most Men Want Women to Be Stepmothers, or a lot of guys want women to be almost like a surrogate mother to him. Like, you end up doing a lot of mothering in long-term relationships with men. Now, if that is your dream to do that, by all means, you have a right to pursue your dreams. Obviously, this would not be the channel for you, and I'm not sure why you'd be watching this, but a lot of times you really do end up performing a lot of caregiving duties for a man because think about it, most men don't know how to take care of their health. They're not over here studying nutritionist stuff or like going on Pinterest, creating Pinterest boards of like easy, healthy recipes and stuff like how women are. They're not doing all that shit. Like I said, a lot of men are spending their spare time playing video games and watching porn. And so this is why a lot of men, as they age, they begin to struggle with things like diabetes. They struggle with high cholesterol from eating a whole bunch of fried shit, like a whole bunch of fried chicken and fried okra and fried green tomatoes and all of this stuff from all these soul food places. They're eating KFC every day and Popeyes for 30 years, and then they wonder why they have high cholesterol later on. It's because they're just eating all of these fried foods and stuff. So a lot of guys, they're not spending their spare time like thinking about, oh, how can I meal prep and like make some quinoa and put some avocados together and put some kale in there and maybe squeeze a little bit of lemon on there and some salt. No, it's extremely rare for a man to even be able to cook. And I mean cook a healthy meal, not barbecuing some stuff on the grill, not making some baby back ribs, not making stuff on the grill like how you used to do with the Q's when you were in college. No, I'm not talking about that type of cooking where your whole house will be filled with carbon monoxide gas from the grill. No, most guys don't even know how to make a healthy, tasty meal that is going to prolong their lifespan. Women are often the ones that bring the most to the table in a relationship, regardless of whether you factor in finances or not. First of all, when it comes to education, women on average are the majority of college graduates. So even if your money, like even if a woman's money doesn't start off as high as a man's, that woman's potential for growth and her potential for future income or her confidence level when it comes to starting her own business, she's more likely to be successful in that just simply because of having that college background and having a bachelor's degree or learning all of those soft skills that you learn in college. A lot of people underestimate the power of soft skills. So yes, like having a job and having a certain amount of money, that is good. That shows that you have some hard skills. But a lot of people who end up starting successful businesses, or they end up like kind of building a network of people, or they have this really big clientele, oftentimes you learn some of those skills in college when you're not in class, or you made friends and maybe you have an alumni association or something like that, and so you could be doing hair. Like, I've literally been around women who they do hair and they make 100K per year, and they don't even have a salon. They don't work for a salon. They are literally working out of their houses, but that's because they went to a college and they used to do everybody's hair in college, or they started connecting with all the girls, and then the girls from their college started telling their friends and family, like, oh yeah, just go to Kiki's house, like she does braids or she does sew-ins or whatever. And that's how these women are able to kind of level up. I've noticed that generally speaking, women tend to be a lot better at leveling up than men are. And I'm not even just talking about financially. I'm talking about turning your house into a home. Usually when somebody says you turn the house into a home, they're not usually talking about a man who has turned his house into a home. Usually they're talking about a woman who knows how to take a space that looks like a jail cell, and she knows how to make it look beautiful and soft and feminine and make it smell good. And then like she knows how to cook. She's got the slow cooker going in the background. She's got a beautiful meal cooking. She's done some meal prepping for the week. She's got her overnight oats going. She starts her morning with her fruit smoothie, and then she goes on a walk in the park. I mean, if that's not the soft life, I don't know what is. But a lot of guys are not even good at planning a good quote unquote soft life for himself. And so a lot of men actually look to latch onto women in order to live that soft life. And this includes men who are rich. This includes men who are white, men who are non-black, whatever your little standards are, whatever your little biases are, or whatever your type is. That includes those men as well. And I'm only saying this not to put down anyone, but I'm saying this to say that you as a woman, you actually have more to offer than you think. So there is no reason to ever really be insecure around a guy. I don't care if you think you're ugly. I don't care if you're overweight. I don't care if you have 10 kids. Like, seriously, because a lot of guys, their lives are still not even as good as a woman who has the 10 kids or the 5 kids. Because even women who have multiple kids, who are baby mamas or whatever, even those women know how to utilize their network to have help when it comes to raising their kids. Like, they will talk to their mom, the kids' grandmas. Maybe they'll drop the kids off at grandma's house or dad's mom's house or auntie's house, or they'll make friends at their job. I'm not even kidding. I've seen women who are single mothers, they work at Walmart, and then they create a good relationship with their own sister, and then they will switch off babysitting the kids so that she can like go get her spa treatments or go get her nails done. So a lot of women are actually a lot better at building a sense of community, but I've noticed a lot of guys are actually jealous of this, and they will make fun of women, and they'll say, you dropped your kids off so that you could go to the club. You dropped your kids off so you could go to the bar. But in my opinion, it's like, well, wow, that actually means that she has built a valuable enough relationship with somebody, probably another woman in her life, to the point where that woman feels comfortable keeping her kids overnight, maybe for no pay, because she cares about that woman and wants her to have a good time with her friends. Most men don't even have friendships. Most men are socially isolated, and they don't have anyone they can call to babysit his kids or whatever. Usually a man is going to call some sort of woman to babysit the kids. Like, he'll be calling his sister, he'll be calling his ex, he'll be calling some girl he's talking to, or his mom. A lot of guys, they can't call their bros, they can't call their guy friends and be like, hey, can you babysit little Tyrone and little Kiki this weekend? No. Most guys will be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. So women on average tend to bring a lot more value to the lives of whoever they're around, because like I said, a lot of women, we have been raised to have a lot of diverse skills. So you're often taught to cook when you're a little girl. You're often taught to clean and do chores and stuff. I know that for me, I always had to do like a lot of chores. You might have been taught how to organize things, how to organize your closet, how to organize your makeup kits and like your nail polishes and all the stuff in your bathroom so that things are easy to find. A lot of women are taught administrative skills, or we go into jobs that utilize administrative skills. So how to fill out a document perfectly, how to type quickly and efficiently, how to articulate yourself via an email or, kind of in a professional setting. And then we also have to learn how to carry yourself really well, how to dress well, how to dress for your body type, what colors go with your skin tone, what colors go well in a room together. A lot of women have so many soft skills, so many unspoken skills that a lot of men, they'll try to devalue it or they'll try to make it like it's not a big deal. But in reality, I mean, the numbers don't lie. The markets don't lie. The majority of people on dating apps are men. The majority of the ones who want a relationship the most are men. So men can say all day long, oh, women don't really bring anything to the table. But it's like, no, clearly these women do bring something to the table, even if they are quote unquote baby mamas or hoes or not your type or whatever. Obviously, they are bringing a lot to the table if you are still dealing with them. You're still in their DMs. You are still trying to talk to them. You're still liking their pics. You still want to be friends with them on Facebook. You still want to be friends with your ex-girlfriend even after she dumped you. You still want to hang out with her. You still want to talk to her. Women actually bring a lot more value into a man's life on average because as a man, if you have a woman in your life, usually that woman is bringing you social interaction. That's number one. Most men are grossly socially isolated. A lot of men, they don't even interact with other people in real life other than the people at their jobs. A lot of men, like the only social interaction they're getting is really on the internet. So if you are having a woman in your life, you're getting in-person social interaction. We all know that having someone to talk to is good for your mental health. I've also talked in previous episodes about how most men are touch starved. So being touch starved is like, you know how you have a baby and like you're supposed to hold the baby, you're supposed to swaddle the baby and kind of like snuggle with it and stuff. A lot of young boys, they are not socialized to like be snuggled up and to hug each other. They're taught that that's gay. They're taught like homophobic talking points and stuff from the time they're a child. And so a lot of young boys become touch starved because even their own fathers do not have the emotional skills to connect with that young boy. Most fathers are not over here kissing and snuggling up with their sons or, kind of patting him on the back and giving him that sense of touch. And so a lot of these men will grow up, and because they have not received touch in a loving way, a lot of men don't even understand touch other than sexual touch or violent touch. And this is why most predators and stuff are usually guys as opposed to women. But a lot of times, if a guy has a woman in his life, he is receiving a mental boost. He's receiving a mental health boost because simply having a woman who is touching him in a kind and loving way and touching him not in a violent way, that provides a whole sense of emotional healing for a lot of guys that they don't experience because they're not around a woman who is touching them in a loving way. Maybe their mother didn't touch them that way, like, kind of rubbing his back in a positive way or just showing that she cares about him and kind of, touching him in a wholesome way. Most men do not experience wholesome forms of touch outside of a romantic relationship. So that's already one need that you would be meeting as a woman just by simply existing, even if you had $0 to bring to the table. Not to mention the fact that a lot of women are better at articulating our emotions. We often have more of a vocabulary to describe our emotions. Women on average tend to be a lot more emotionally intelligent than men. We can pick up on a man's different moods. Like we can pick up on our own moods more quickly. We can tell like, okay, I'm PMSing right now, or, I'm a little bit sad because I lost my job last week or whatever. And a lot of guys, they don't even know how to articulate their own emotions. So simply having a woman in his life will actually end up by default, helping that man to process his own emotions, which will then in turn increase that man's mental health. So there are actually a lot of mental health benefits. There are more mental health benefits that a man receives from a relationship versus a woman, because the average man, he's going to learn a lot about himself just by dealing with a woman. He's going to learn a lot about himself. He's going to learn a lot about how relationships work and stuff. But the bad part of this is that for a lot of women, most men will bring negative emotions into your life rather than positive emotions. And this is what people mean when they say that women do the emotional labor, because emotional labor is things like checking in with him via text all the time. Hey, how are you feeling today? Hey, I heard that you were sick. Like you said that your nose was stuffy last night. Are you still feeling stuffy? Do you need some Dayquil? Do you want me to stop by the store? All of those comments and questions and stuff, and all of those check-ins that you do with a guy, that is a form of emotional labor. Most men aren't doing that shit. They're not over here texting you, do you need some medicine? Do you need this? Do you want me to pick up soup at the store? Oh, maybe I can go home and slow cook you some bone broth with some vegetables in it. I'll chop up a bunch of onions and vegetables and put it in some bone broth, and the collagen in the bone broth is going to help you. No, most guys aren't even thinking like that, but a lot of women think like that. And so this is why a lot of men, they know this deep down inside, even though they won't admit it, but they know that there is a huge benefit to having a woman in your life. And this is because of the caregiving and caretaking nature that a lot of women provide. And it's also because a lot of women, since we are in tune with our own emotions, we are often in tune with a man's emotions. You know, if you're in a relationship, oftentimes we are very in tune with his emotions. And so women have a tendency to naturally want to make those around them feel better. We have a tendency to naturally, you know, if you see that your son or daughter is sad, obviously as the mother, you would naturally want them to feel better. So you're going to try to think of a way to cheer them up. Women often do this with their boyfriends as well. So there are way more benefits for a guy, for the most part, in a relationship, simply being in the presence of a woman. And this is why I say, as a woman, you should never feel like you are low value, because all of those intangibles that I just named, those are life-changing and very healing to a lot of men, but they won't admit that, of course. And so if they don't admit that, and if they don't want to recognize your value, that's fine. They can just suffer with the male loneliness epidemic that is growing right now. A lot of men, like I said, they're socially isolated, and because they lack social skills, they don't even have the ability to even go on a dating app or something. You know, they don't even get matches. And then a lot of those same guys are extremely unattractive physically. They have no edges. They're over here with pot bellies, teeth missing. A lot of guys, they don't even have the money to afford things like maybe doing dental work, or if they needed a surgery, or if they have like a lazy eye or something, or like one of their eyelids is kind of hanging down over their eye. So like they can't even see. So it looks like they're high all the time. Like one eye is looking to the right, the other eye is looking to the left. A lot of guys can't afford to even get the medical work that they need done. And then you've got, like, by the time he's 35, he's already midlife if he's black, because the average lifespan of an African American man is only about 70 to 71 years old. So it's like, okay, he's already midlife, his hairline is receding. The average man is not in shape, by the way. The average man in the United States is not walking around with a six-pack and biceps or whatever, so that's hit or miss as well. And don't even get me started on the fashion and clothing choices that a lot of these guys dress like. By the way, it's really a powerful thing, like how a man dresses, because you can tell by how a guy dresses, you can tell what culture he is submitted to. So I judge a guy based off of what he wears. If he is wearing any sort of large chain of any kind, as a matter of fact, if you're wearing any chain of any kind, I would never, no, I'm done. Like, you're gone. But people usually dress based on what they think is cool, what they think is important, you know, what they think is impressive. And so especially with how a guy dresses on a date, if he dresses like a hip hop rap star, well, I can already tell you how he's going to act in the relationship. But that's not to say that if he dresses like a businessman, that he's automatically going to be professional and classy, because I think that that's not necessarily the case. But I think that a guy who at least dresses classy, at least he understands the value of presenting himself well. So, I mean, that would be a small point in his favor. But of course, your character is what counts. But a lot of women have a lot more to offer emotionally than men do. And this is because women on average are a lot more emotionally available than men. And this is because we have been socialized to open up about our problems, to kind of talk through our problems, to kind of vent those problems, to cry, to cry out our emotions or to express our emotions or whatever. A lot of guys are socialized to keep their emotions all pinned inside. And so this is why for a lot of men, getting in a relationship is going to be cathartic for them. And when I say cathartic, they're going to finally have an emotional safe space that they have never had. And so this is why it's complete BS. Like, if a guy says, oh, well, this girl never has a chance with me, that guy is going to emotionally suffer. First of all, I even saw this video where the lady was talking about how for a man living alone, his cortisol levels go up. And also, when you are not expressing your emotions and you don't have any emotional safe spaces where you can discuss how you feel and there's somebody to actually listen to you, that is very bad for your mental and physical health. So a lot of guys are walking around with high cortisol levels. They have no edges. They can't afford their own medical care, can't afford their own dental care. So they're walking around with no edges and halitosis. And they're also emotionally pent up and they don't know how to express themselves. Not to mention the fact that a lot of guys' teacher, as far as sex goes, is pornography. So if you're a woman and you're not into that type of sex, you don't like getting rammed into a wall and getting hurt, basically, or violence, if you don't like violence when it comes to intimacy, then that is what you're going to be dealing with on average. But what do you ladies think? Have you ever encountered this? Have you ever been around a guy where you can tell that that guy he's looking for a woman to care for him? Because I've noticed this even with guys in my own family. Even guys who have money or whatever, they still need a woman to come and be their caretaker. They still want a woman to retire with or to pad his retirement account because he didn't make enough money throughout the decades, or he was dumb with his money. He didn't save his money. And so he needs a woman to basically help him. I've noticed a lot of women are actually really good at building a good life for themselves. A lot of women will they'll be in their 60s. I've seen older women who are like black or whatever race. They will save up their little money or whatever. They'll drive their little modest car because a lot of women, we don't have a complex about the types of cars that we drive. And so a lot of women will just drive whatever car they need to drive and then they'll save their money. They'll buy themselves a cute little house in the country, or they will keep their retirement padded and they will just travel. I've seen so many older women where they can travel the world because that was their dream. So they saved up all of their money so that they could retire and travel around the world. And a lot of women are just over here living their dreams and living the soft life, whether they have a man in their life or not. Meanwhile, a lot of men who are old are not living their dreams. A lot of men who are old are actually in the clubs and bars and lounges looking for a woman that they can latch onto. They're looking for a woman to be their dream. They're looking for a woman to fund his dream. He's looking for a woman to help build his dream. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.